Hello everybody and welcome back to the Professional Diploma in Photoshop. Welcome to Lesson 8 of Module 1, the final lesson of this module. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I hope you're all really excited about this lesson. Did you know that Photoshop, it is the industry standard for many reasons that I've discussed throughout this course, and I'm sure you're beginning to see now as well. It's such a broad program. It has such an appeal right across the creative image industry, but the actual market share that Photoshop owns is about 44%. And the majority of the rest of that percentage is actually made up of other Adobe programs like the Creative Cloud. So that includes things like Illustrator, you've got InDesign, you've got Lightroom, Premiere Pro. All these other programs that are used within the Creative Cloud are actually the main competitors to Photoshop, and all other market shares are less than 5%. So very frequently when students embark on this course, they ask questions like, why don't you teach CorelDRAW? Why don't you teach Picasa? Why don't you teach GIMP? And so on. And it's because they are not the industry standard. It's just because they don't offer anywhere near as much as Photoshop does. It's just such a broad and synonymous program when it comes to image editing and to being creative as well with your media. So you are here with myself, William Eames. Thank you once again for joining me for lesson number 8, and thank you so much for making it this far through the course. I do hope that you've seen your Photoshop skills improve dramatically over the duration of these 8 lessons. We've got a really exciting lesson lined up for you. In this one, we're going to take everything that we've learned and we're going to make some really incredible looking images. Remember to download the app. I mean, you really should have it now at this stage, but if for some reason you haven't downloaded it yet, please do remember to download the app and enjoy the lessons that way. And of course as well, do remember to watch those recordings, go back over those recordings, anything that you're not sure on or anything that you just want a little bit more information about. Do remember to go back and review those and contact us as well if you have any questions at all. And remember, you can also chat to us throughout the lessons via Morpheus. So any questions that you have during the lesson, do just type into Morpheus, and remember to keep rating those responses. And anything outstanding, you can reach out to us at support@shawacademy.com. And just with that in mind, I want you to tell me so far, what is the most useful skill you have learned throughout this course? Okay, so from lessons 1 to 7, because we're going to be using all those skills in this lesson, what do you think is the most useful thing you've learned so far? Is it using layers? Is it making adjustments? Is it using selection tools? Is it doing black and white editing? Is it using the Camera Raw filter? We've done so much throughout this course. I do hope that you found something, at least one thing that you can take away from this course and really see a big change with your image editing and with your photography. So let me know. Just type in through Morpheus, or indeed reach out to us as well at shawacademy.com/Facebook, and let us know what is the most useful skill you have learned so far throughout this course. So lesson number 8, the final lesson of this module, we're going to talk all about effects. We're going to have a look at how you can do some really cool looking effects to your photographs, to your images, like this dispersion effect here, and how we can take everything that we've learned to create these types of images. They look complex, but they're actually quite straightforward to do. But the results are very, very impressive. They're really, really cool images, and this is something that you can do right across in any type of image. So not just photographs, but you can do this with your logos, you can do this with your typography, anything that you can create in Photoshop, you're going to be able to apply these types of effects to them as well. So we're going to kick things off by having a look at how you can create a glitch type of effect. So an image like this, where we have the image almost glitching out, as if, you know, we were watching it on an old VHS or an old TV or something like that. So we'll start off with that, and then we'll have a look a little bit later on how to do dispersion and also how to do double exposures. So we'll jump straight into Photoshop. Now, so here we are in Photoshop once again, and we've got our image here ready to work on. Now, You can do this with color images as well. It is recommended practicing with the saturated images or black and white images, as the effect does tend to be a little bit better when using black and white images. So one of the first steps I would do is, well, I'd make a duplicate layer. So first of all, we unlock our background. You also want to get into the habit of naming our backgrounds now as well, or naming our layers, I should say, so that you can identify which one is which, because we are going to be using a lot of layers throughout these different examples. So we have our background layer. We also want to do a duplicate of that. Now we can do the duplicate by simply dragging down to new layer. Or we could also press Control or Command plus J, and that's a quicker way of doing it. It's a very, very useful shortcut. Control plus J or Command plus J will quickly create another copy. Okay, so we'll just delete that for now. So with that then, we want to select our background copy, and coming down then to the bottom, we can select our effects option. Okay, so we go to Add Layer Style. Okay, as we go to the first option here, blending options, it's going to open up our layer style panel. We don't want to do anything here on the left hand side. All we want to do here is come to our channels option. Okay, so all we have to do here is just switch off the red channel. So that leaves green and blue. So we just switch off the red channel and it just leaves green and blue. Okay, so if I click OK on that, alright, we now have this little symbol there beside it, just indicating that we've made a change to the channels there. With this background copy selected, all I have to do then is start to shift the image. So I go to my move tool, I click on it, and if I start pressing left or right, well, you see what happens there straight away. Very, very simple, very, very quick to do. Switch off one of your channels, your red channel, to get that kind of green and red effect there, almost a 3D type of effect. And you can just shift it out as much as you like. You can also shift it up if you wanted to as well. Okay, so I'm just using the arrow keys there just to move it around, but I'm not going to do it too dramatically here. I'm going to keep it level, you know, keep it all the same there, and shift it out maybe by that much. Okay, so you can see already we're beginning to get our effect there, our glitch effect already. The next step here then is we want to make another layer. So we're going to make a pattern overlay. So how we can do that then is we come down to the bottom again with our layers, and this time we're going to select our solid fill, create new fill or adjustment layer. And we select the pattern option, and here it's going to fill it in, as you can see, with a pattern. This is not the pattern that we want to use. So what we'll do here then is we just click down our pattern fill, and we've got lots of different options here that we can use, but we're going to click this the second one here, horizontal line, as you can see. So we'll just click that off, and what we want to do then here is we also want to change the scale, and we're going to change the scale to 900. Now you can see what happens. We've got these lines going across the image. Now that's no good because we still can't see our model underneath. So we come to our blend modes, and we can change the blend mode to whichever one we prefer. I think we'll go with the overlay, and we'll just reduce down the opacity on that a little bit. Actually quite a lot in this case. We'll go down to about 25% in this case. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got the lines going across the image here. It looks very, very cool already. But the next thing we need to do is to start selecting some parts of this image and just shifting them a little bit so that we can really enhance that glitch effect. So what I need to do here is I need to take all of these layers and I need to combine them together while still maintaining these separate layers. So that sounds quite complex, but it's not. It's actually very straightforward. So this is a shortcut that you're going to want to learn because you are going to be using it quite a bit. Shift, Control, Alt plus E. So all together that's Shift, Control, Alt plus E. So Shift plus Alt plus Control plus E, and that will combine all your layers together to create one single layer with everything applied to it. Okay, So it's combined everything there together, and again then if you're using a Mac, it's Shift Command Control E. Shift Command Control E will create that combination of layers for you. Really cool, really useful shortcut there. So now we've got this layer that we can work on. We're going to change the name of that. Remember, we're getting into the habits of changing the name, so we're going to call this one Effects. Okay, that one is called Pattern Layer, Background Copy. That's all okay. And what we can do then is we can come over to our Selection tool. So we're going to select our Rectangular Marquee tool. All we have to do then is simply draw in a rectangular shape here, wherever we like, whatever length we like. And then we use the Move tool. We just click the Move tool. We can click on it and we can start to just shift it using the arrow keys. Okay, now we don't want to go too far, because as you can see there, you'll start to reveal the layer underneath. So we want to just move it ever so slightly, and I think that's okay there. And just Control plus D to deselect that. There you go. You can see we're beginning to get that glitch effect. Okay, so let's just do that a couple of more times. Let's do it, say, around the eyes. Now it doesn't have to be right across the image either. And you can also just press Control plus click here as well if you want to just quickly grab it and do a quick shortcut there too. So we move the eyes out there. We'll do another one along the neck. Okay, and then just Control plus click again. Just shift it out. We'll go the other way this time. And we'll do another one there below. It's a little bit further down. Just shift it out ever so slightly, as I said. So you don't want to go too far with it, or you will start revealing the other layer below. Okay, so that is really cool. It's a lot of fun to do, and as you can see, it isn't very difficult to do either. It is quite straightforward. I'm just going to select the Move tool there and just shift this over using the arrow keys. Okay, so you could just continue away on that to your heart's content to continue to exaggerate that glitch image if you like. I'm really happy with how that looks for now. So we took our image from looking like this to looking like this, okay, in just a few short steps. Alright, now you can see as well when I switch the layers off, you begin to get the gaps there underneath. So that's why you need to have all of your layers switched on there as well to maintain and to keep consistency within it. But that's really cool. I'm really pleased with those results. So we can just leave that for now. And it's a good, it's an easy one to do, as you can see. Not too many layers involved, but do just remember to go back over the recording to take your time with it and take it step by step. Now, so the next effect we're going to have a look at is our dispersion effect, and this is going to take a little bit more work. There is a little bit more involved. And the very first thing you're going to have to do, if you haven't done so already, is to download some brushes. Okay, so if you visit brusheasy.com, you'll find lots and lots of free brushes for Photoshop. Okay, so brusheasy.com, you can see it there up at the top, and you can see there's loads and loads of different kind of graphics. There's loads of brushes and everything here as well. Okay, so I'm just going to click top brushes. You can see there's like smoke brushes there, so if you want to get a smoke type of effect, you can go with that. There's just loads. Like, I mean, you spend all day on this, you're looking for the right one. If you want to add in snow into your images, you can see there as well. But I want to find a dispersion brush. So dispersion, hopefully I'm spelling that correctly. There we go, and you can see we've got loads of different variations of that already. Okay, so we're just going to click this one, volume 1, 20 dispersion brushes. We'll just quickly download that. It's a free download. It'll just take just a moment. Now, I'm running through all of this because I want to show you how to install these brushes as well. So we just open up our zip file when that's downloaded. Okay, and we've got all of our brushes there. This is an A, B, or file. So what you want to do then is when you've extracted your brushes, okay, so we just click the extract option, extract it as normal. You want to copy this, so we just go to copy, Okay, and then you're going to want to go in and you want to find Photoshop on your computer. So that's going to be in our program files. We go to Adobe. We've got all of the programs here. As you can see, you've got the entire Creative Cloud here. Lucky me. So we go into Adobe Photoshop, and then we're going to want to go into our presets. Within presets then we have brushes, and finally then we can just paste it into this here as well. Yes, we want to go and continue with that. I am indeed the administrator, and that's it pasted in. Now if you happen to have Photoshop open throughout that entire process, you may need to restart it. Okay, so you might just have to close it down and then open it again. But that's how you can install brushes on any type of brush. There's so many there. Do check them out, brusheasy.com. They're all free. There's a huge amount, and as you're going to see, we can do some really, really cool things with them. Now, so back in Photoshop once again, we're going to stick with something easy to begin with when using these brushes and creating this dispersion effect. So I've just downloaded a simple image, plain white background here. Okay, now with this we're still going to want to create a selection around it. Okay, so we're going to just go to our quick selection brush. We'll just quickly select just around the athlete here. Okay, not so quick if it has to load there we go. And you also want to remember to try and just get us all of the white spaces here as well. Okay, so that could be a little bit more refined. Okay, and just I can see along the back here that's a little bit of an issue here as well. Now, okay, so that's looking okay for me for now. So we're going to go and we're at select inverse. We want to go to our select and mask option, and we can change the background to whichever one we want. If you want to go on black, which I prefer, we're going to just decrease the opacity of that there as well. I'm just going to quickly select my refine brush tool and just quickly run around the edges here as well. Just very, very quickly run around the edges just to try and improve that ever so slightly, because it's not great. Okay, especially just along the hairline here. Okay, so that will do for now. I'm just going to shift the edge ever so slightly and just ever so slightly feather it as well. So we're going to output this just simply to a new layer. Okay, we'll just bring up our layers there, and now you can see we have our gentleman here just separated away from the background. Okay, so what we're going to need to do next here then is I'm going to also need to duplicate this layer. So again, just Control J here very, very quickly, and we're going to call the background copy here effects. So okay, so remember again, we want to get into the habit of calling these layers what they are. So this is effects. I'm also going to select this background copy here. I'm also going to just click mask on that. But for now, I'm going to switch that layer off. Okay, so with the effects layer selected, I am now going to go into my filter options, and we're going to select this option here called Liquify. Okay, so Liquify will take a moment there to open. It's just opened on another monitor there for me instead. Okay, and here with the Liquify, we have a huge amount of options available to us, as we can see. It's crazy amount of options. Liquify is used heavily in retouching. We are going to be looking at Liquify tools in much more greater detail in later modules in our advanced retouching lessons. For now though, all we want to use is our brushes. Okay, so we've got our brushes over here at the side. We just want to use this one called the Forward Warp tool. Okay, and with the Forward Warp tool, I click on a part of the image and I drag it. Okay, so I just keep clicking and dragging like you can see I'm doing here. Now don't worry about how warped it's going to get. You could also just increase the rate and the pressure here, and maybe just the size of that here as well. Maybe that's a bit too large, just to increase or to speed all of this up. But you really just want to drag it, grab it all and just drag it. And I mean, it might look a bit silly, I'll just undo that part there. What you want to do though is you just want to fill it out right until the edges. Okay, so probably could be a little bit more refined there. You should try to keep your strokes in the same direction, just going up. In this case, I'm going with the angle that he's at. Okay, so just keep dragging it across. Don't forget his feet here as well. And you just keep going. So it can take a little bit of time, you know, depending on how much you want the effect. I'm actually just going to undo that there. There we go. Okay, and I think, look, that's okay for now. Okay, so with that then, I simply click OK. And yeah, looking a little bit odd, so we need to do just a little bit of movement there on this. So we can just select our effects layer and we can just kind of shift it into place. Now it doesn't matter too much if it doesn't match here. It's the outer part that's going to be more important to us. Okay, so then with that we can switch on our layer here again. What I also want to do is with my effects layer selected, I want to mask this layer as well. So we're going to press Alt and we'll click on the mask option, and that will create a black mask instead. Okay, so I want a white mask, and I should really change the name of that layer there as well. That's absolutely fine. But we want a white mask on the top layer and a black mask on the layer underneath. Now, so with that layer underneath selected, then I want to go over to my brushes, and I'm going to click down my brushes here. Now, this is where I can find all of the brushes. Now, I've already selected my dispersion brush. Okay, so the ones that we installed there just a moment ago, there's 20 different variations of them there. Okay, we'll just start with number 1, but there's loads of other ones there that are already available within Photoshop. Some of these have also been installed by myself previously. Like you got these kind of dried blood splatters if you want to do kind of, you know, a Halloween type effects. There's special effects ones there as well. Also very, very cool. We might use some of those a little bit later on, but look, for now, we're going to just stick with our dispersion brush, and we can just come over to the image then. Okay, so I've got it very, very large, and you can see it's a bit of an unusual brush. Remember, we've got our black layer selected here. And what we want to do then is, remember, if we're using black, we're going to need to use white, and we just start clicking in, and you can see there what is happening straight away. Now, the trick with making this look effective is to change your sizes, you know, quite regularly, and also change the angle of the brush as well. So we come up to our brush here again. You want to just mix up those angles and where you're placing the brush. Okay, so that will just help to make it look so that you're not just kind of painting in and everything. It just doesn't look great. So there, like, it just mixes it up ever so slightly and gives more of that kind of random dispersion effect. Okay, so it takes a bit of time. Obviously we're stuck and tight for time in this lesson, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on it. But with the white layer then, what we can do is, with our white mask, we can do the opposite. We can start painting that dispersion effect on the athlete, on the model himself. Okay, and that just makes it look like he's disintegrating or dispersing even more. Alright, so I might just change that brush up there again. Let's see, we'll go with a little bit more of a condensed one and reduce the size of it down. There you go. Okay, so we're kind of revealing underneath, and it looks a little bit more like he is just running himself into dust. Okay, but anyway, that is how we can do our dispersion effect. Very, very cool again, and you might just play around with it ever so slightly. You can reduce the opacity of the layer underneath here as well, just to blend it a little bit more. You can change your blend modes if you like, but I would try to just keep it on normal. You could also go with the dissolve one here as well if you wanted to make it look like he's dissolving even more. But again, very, very simple and very straightforward to do. With a little bit of work, a little bit more patience, you can take this much, much further as well. And what you can even try to do at a much more advanced level is combine your double exposures here with this dispersion effect, as we're going to see a little bit later on. But let's just park that there for now. I'm really happy with the results on that. And let's move on and have a look at how to do our double exposure. So the double exposure within Photoshop is admittedly one of the more difficult things to do, but the results, as you can see here, are very, very impressive when you can pull it off. And being able to do this type of effect, what you're actually going to begin to see is, it's used very well. The method to do it is used very, very frequently throughout Photoshop. You're never really going to look at images the same way again, because you're going to look at them now and you're going to start to break down exactly how they were created. But let's just get right on into it and have a look at how we can start creating our own double exposures. Now, so for the final time for this module, we are in Photoshop once again. And with our double exposures, perhaps unsurprisingly, we're going to need two photographs. So we have a landscape image here and we have a portrait here. And really your double exposures should try to have some kind of theme to them. And generally a portrait mixed with a landscape is very effective, but with this technique you really are going to be able to combine anything to create a double exposure. But we'll start off by selecting our model here. So a complex selection here, especially with the hair, but we'll do our best on it anyway. So we just select on the inside in this particular case rather than on the outside. We'll try to select our hair as best as possible. We've gone too far there now, so we just alt click and undo that. Okay, that looks okay for now. We'll just add a little bit more of the hair in there as well. We won't worry about it getting too perfect. So I'm just going to right click and feather that by just 0.5 pixels, just to soften it ever so slightly. And then select and mask. That's not too bad. So we're going to just go around that then with our refine brush tool. Reduce the size of it down and we'll just try to follow the hairline as best as possible. It's okay if it's not perfect. I mean, really, you'd want to be spending quite a bit of time on this to get it 100%. But I think that's okay for now. Okay, that'll do. We won't spend too much time because we'll be here all evening if that was the case. So with that done, we then go to, you just want to create a new layer here. So we click OK, and there we go. We've got a new layer. That selection's actually all right. There's a little bit of the background still there, but we can live with that. Now, with that, we can then just remove the background. We don't need that now anymore, so better to just remove the clutter and delete it altogether. We do want to replace it though, so we're going to click on our solid color option, and we're just going to select a white background, and we're going to pop it in behind, because we're going to use that for something a little bit later on. Okay, so with that done, the next step is to desaturate our image. Now you can do this with color image as well if you like, but we're going to desaturate it now for the time being, just to really get that double exposure effect, because we're going to be able to bring the color out of the second image here, which is our woods. So we click on that and we're going to just drag and drop it onto our other photograph. Now I'm going to reduce the opacity here of it so I can see where exactly I want to place it. I'm also going to press Control plus T to select my transform option, and I'm going to flip that horizontal. So I want to try and get the smoky effect. It'd be great if we could kind of get the smoky, misty effect here, kind of trailing off with the hair. Okay, so it might not be possible, but we'll try it anyway. Okay, and you also want to just be careful of the placement of the trees there around the face and around the eyes. Okay, that will do me for now. Okay, so we'll just click enter on that. I can increase the opacity of that there again, but I'll just switch that layer off now for the time being. Now the next step, I want to come down to my model layer again. And while hovering over the model herself, if I press Control plus click, it will actually select the model for me. So you can see now we've got the marching ants. It's actually selected my model. If I come back up to my top layer here, switch it back on, you can actually see that selection. So while we have the marching ants, I'll just quickly hit the quick mask option, and well, we got a very cool effect here already. That's really, really cool. So you can see the beginnings of our double exposure. Okay, so what we're going to do here then, we're going to change that blend mode. We're going to change it to, we'll go with lighten. We're also going to reduce the opacity of that down a little bit as well. Okay, so you can see that double effect, or that double exposure effect coming through here now already. And if you wanted to, you could actually leave it at this stage. Okay, now you could introduce your brushes here as well. So we could introduce our black brush and just paint over the face to reveal the face a little bit more, and we're getting that double exposure effect. We're going to do a little bit more than that though. So I'm going to just duplicate my layer here again. I'm going to bring this above my forest layer. I'm going to reduce the opacity down, and also going to lighten that as well. Okay, now I'm also going to add a layer mask in here. Now I know this is a lot of steps, that's moving quite fast, but it is important to go back over this in the recordings as well. Now with that selected, I'm going to use my black brush again, and I want to just paint in as much of the forest as possible. Okay. Now it's not with the type of image behind it, it's a little bit difficult to see because we've got dark clothes there, but it is having a slight effect on it. So I'll come back down to my second layer here. I'm going to reduce my brush size down quite dramatically, and I'm going to paint in the face. Okay. Just undo that actually. I want to soften my brush. I'm going to reduce the opacity down here a little bit and just increase the brush size. Yeah, okay. So there, that's cool. We've got the tree kind of, blending with her hair there just on the face. That was purely accidental, but, quite often accidents, leads to great results. So that's looking really, really good. I'm really happy with that so far. Okay, I'm just going to bring back a little bit of the hair in there at the top, just ever so slightly. Okay, and again, just really reduce the opacity there on it. Now, we could again just leave it there if we wanted to, but there's even more that we can do with this to take it to the next level. As it stands, as it is, that is our double exposure. Okay, so you can just leave it plain like this if you like. It still looks great. So you can see here, quite straightforward to do. You will need to go back over the steps and take your time with it, but we're going to try and elevate it, and we're going to well, let's bring in some of the brushes that we were using a little bit earlier as well. Let's see if we can do something with them. So what we're going to do first is we're going to come back down to our background layer. Remember, we made this earlier and I said it had a purpose, and it does indeed. If we double click on the color, we can sample a color from the image. So we're going to try and sample the kind of dark green. Okay, so you can kind of choose whichever one you want. Very dark green, kind of the olive there, I think kind of, looks natural. So we could just click OK on that. Okay, now we'll come back up to our background layer, sorry, our landscape layer, I should say, not our background layer. And again, I should really be labeling these layers, but it's a bit late now to do that. But anyway, I'll just Control+J on that, create a duplicate. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to delete that layer mask. Okay. And you can see there what happens when I do that. You kind of get this cool effect. What I want to do with that then is I want to make a black mask. So if I press Alt and click and make a black mask, that hides that mask for me now. Okay. Now if I was to start to paint in, it's going to start to reveal the image below. Okay. So I can increase the opacity of this brush just to show you very, very quickly. Really increase the size of the brush there as well. I've gone a bit too far there, but you can see it's bringing in the landscape image below. Now don't worry about that hard line. We'll crop that out afterwards as well. Okay, so we're getting this kind of double exposure effect. But I'm going to do something a little bit different. Rather than just using my round brush, we could take advantage of this by using a different type of brush. Okay, so if I click down my brushes, loads of different brushes available to me. Okay, so we've got whoever was using this before, kind of downloaded lots of brushes from someone named Kyle. He's got lots of different types of ones here that we can try out. Foliage mix, I think, might work well with this. Let's have a look. So we just double click on that. Okay, yeah, it looks like it might work. So I'm going to increase the size of this, and we can kind of just click away. Okay, so I would say we need to maybe just increase the opacity of the forest below so that we can see it a little bit more. I would also recommend sticking with the blend mode of lighten. And I've changed that, so we'll just go back to lighten. There we go. Okay, so that's really, really cool. I like that. Okay, so you can kind of just keep painting that in. Now the only issue with this is it's a little bit difficult to kind of see that forest underneath. Okay, so I might try a different brush. We can just simply delete our layer mask there. Okay, I see what I've done wrong. So I was painting on the image itself. You really need to be careful of that. I do that so often when doing this. Okay, so you can see I was actually painting, instead of painting on the mask, I was painting on the image, and that's why I wasn't really able to see the forest coming through below. You can paint around her as well. Okay, I'm going to try a different brush. So I'm just going to click my layer mask. We'll delete that layer mask, and we can just add it in again by alt click, and we can try out a different brush. I'm going to try out this pastel one and see how that one goes. Okay, so just increase the size of it here again. Hey, there we go. I think that's cool. Now maybe gone a little bit too far with that, so we just want to kind of blend it into the hair there, and you can see how we're revealing more of the forest, and you can see we still got some of the leaves there down below. Okay, so just go the other side here as well, and you can see we're kind of getting this more type of dream-like effect. So I won't spend too long on that, but that is really cool. And you can see how when we're blending using our different blend modes here and introducing brushes, we can get very, very strong and very, very cool results. Now I'm actually just going to come back to the bottom layer here. Okay, make sure I have black selected and just kind of paint in a little bit more here. Maybe just reduce the opacity of it there as well. If I use the same brush, gives it just a little bit more consistency. Okay, so I could continue to work away on that to my heart's content. Probably just overdoing it there a little bit, so you do want to be careful of that as well, that you don't go too far with these kind of changes that you're making to it. It can be hard sometimes to know when to stop, but I think it's beginning to look a little bit overdone, so I think that's where we will call it. But anyway, still looks pretty cool to me. The last thing then that all we need to do is just to crop it down a little bit. So I'm just going to go 10:8 ratio here. We'll just go landscape and expand it out just to the edges there, and click OK. Okay, so that's our final image. In retrospect, I don't think that pastel brush was the best option, but still you get the idea, and we've got a very cool double exposure effect. Okay, so we'll leave it there for now. So massive congratulations to all of you. You have completed module number 1. Well done on making it this far and completing lesson number 8 and completing this module. So many students register and sign up, and they kind of drop off throughout the course. They find that the course maybe isn't for them, or perhaps they just haven't got the drive to go on and complete it. But for those of you who have made it this far, you are far more likely to succeed. So do give yourselves a massive pat on the back. Now there's still a few things to take care of. So first of all, your module 1 assignment is available after this lesson, and you can order a eCert on completion, and each one of these module assignments carries 25% of your overall grade, which goes towards your professional diploma in Photoshop. So you must complete module 1 assignment, module 2 assignment, module 3 assignment, module 4 assignment. All of these will add up to give you your professional certificate in Photoshop. And qualifications are very important. Qualifications will give you lots of benefits. They open lots of doors for you. And one of the first things you can do with a qualification, well, it opens doors to more qualifications. So quite often, if you want to go on and you want to study something else, it is important to have maybe a little bit of experience and a qualification in a relevant subject. So for example, if you wanted to go on and you wanted to study design, having a qualification, a professional diploma in Photoshop is a massive benefit there. And Photoshop is so broad, it's just a huge benefit in so many different various walks of life nowadays as well. So, you know, it's a great thing to be qualified in. And qualifications will also allow you to expand your skill set. So, you know, perhaps you're not interested in that piece of paper. Perhaps qualification doesn't mean that much to you, but it does mean that you have expanded your skills. It's shown that you put your mind to something and that you have completed it, and that you've gained something from it as well. So you're adding to your skills. You're deciding that you want to keep learning and you want to keep improving yourself. And of course, that also means that you broaden your career opportunities. It means that there's more types of jobs available to you, that you can also maybe as well go for that promotion that you've been after for a while. You know, perhaps there's a new opportunity in your current position. Perhaps you can add to your current position with this qualification. And of course, all that means is that you've got higher earning potential, that you can simply earn more. And really, that is just a benefit to us all. So feel empowered. You have done so well to get this far. You should be feeling proud of yourself. There's no shame in it whatsoever. You know, it does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It's so easy to go home, to sit down and to put on the TV or to put on the PlayStation or Xbox, whatever it is you prefer, rather than sitting down and deciding to get yourself educated. So, you know, it's a life-changing thing. So more power to you. And people just like you achieve with us every single day. So we are there to help you to achieve your goals, and you have made it this far. So you are standing out. You are far more likely to succeed. So keep going. And really, you can't afford not to. You've come this far. Why would you decide not to go ahead and complete the diploma in Photoshop and learn even more? So I don't really need to go into great detail about it again, but do give yourself enough time to complete the course comfortably. 6 and 12 month membership will give you lots of time to check out our other courses as well as completing the professional diploma in Photoshop. And this is your last chance, so don't miss out, because we're at the end of this module, and this is typically where we get a huge volume of students signing up and moving on to module number 2. So make sure not to miss out on your place. And it does start next week. Module 2 lesson 1, we go straight on into it after this lesson. So you've now mastered the basics. It really is time to move on and improve your skills. So you know the spiel at this stage. Not going to go into it all again, but we just want to give you the most affordable and flexible higher education that is available anywhere in the world. Okay, so I'm so glad that you've come this far. Do come along with me to the next step and take your skills even further. You know where to get yourself upgraded. All you need to do is go into your student members area and simply choose the option that best suits you, whether it's the 3-month plan to complete this course, the 6-month plan to complete this course, and check out some other courses, graphic design, photography, whatever way you're inclined. If you want to go the more photographic route or the more design route, or perhaps you want to do both, and in that case I'd recommend checking out the 12-month subscription. So that's the end of module number 1. Massive congratulations to you all for completing this phase of the course. And of course we continue things on then next week with module number 2, lesson number 1. Very, very exciting stuff. We're going to be covering advanced selections, so we're going to be taking our selections even further. So until then, thank you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you all again very, very soon. Bye bye.